top5rapwebsite.com. You already know what's going on. Today we got Billy Woods and Kenny Segal, Hiding Places, the album. So this is a very brutally honest, self-reflective album. That's what I got from it. If you're not really into more abstract, industrial sounding hip-hop, this might turn you off a bit. But for me, this is like my third or fourth project by Billy Woods already. So I kind of get the gist of what he's doing already. But here on Hiding Places, he's kind of, him and Kenny Segal rather, they're taking that to the next level. And Billy Woods, if you've listened, he kind of raps in riddles. It's kind of like a run-on sentence, and at times it sounds like he's just rambling. It's a stream of consciousness, non sequitur. It sounds like he's lost in his thoughts. And that's kind of the amazing thing about it, that he takes you right into there. So as you're listening, you can kind of feel the anxiety and the frustrations and the insecurities that he deals with just from hearing him rant and ramble on this here Hiding Places LP. So my first couple of listens, like many of you, it was hard for me to catch wind of what he's saying. I'm not a person that likes to go onto lyrics websites and break down lyrics and read the lyrics. I like to hear it myself and try to break it down myself. So that was really hard. That was really hard to do with this project because, again, Billy Woods, at times he's just rambling, or it sounds like he's rambling, and he's kind of giving you riddles. There are times where I'm not sure if he's just giving us a really simple bar or if it is meant to mean something deeper. And I felt this way at the end of Speak Gently featuring Self Jupiter. He has a skit where he talks about forwarded mail and how when you move and you move into a new place, you get the person who lived there previous to you, you get their mail that's forwarded to them. And it got me thinking, is this something deeper? Is this a deeper part of the project? Is this like something that I need to pay attention to because it's connecting themes within the project, or is this just a random skit? So Billy Woods does that a lot with me, even with just his bars. Sometimes I'm not sure if it's just what it appears to be at face value or if there's a different meaning. But as I got more into this project, I started to view Hiding Places as more self-reflection. And if you listen to Hiding Places, Billy Woods references war a lot. There's a lot of war imagery and there's a lot of violence imagery. So for instance, on the intro SpongeBob, Billy Woods mentions Saddam Hussein and Tora Bora. And he says, SpongeBob, your whole operation's underwater. The bombs was on us. We looked up at God and said, like, you promise. And that's a reference to the Bible where, God is referencing the flood and he's promising there's no more floods. And earlier in the hook, Billy Woods says, SpongeBob, your whole operation is underwater. So he's kind of connecting that underwater SpongeBob theme to that Bible flooding theme. But he mentions Tora Bora, which is where Osama bin Laden was hiding. And that's where the U.S. military found him. He was hiding in a hole in Tora Bora. So that's one war mention. On checkpoints, he says, dish served, room temp, escovitch fish, always better when you pry it out their cold, dead grip. So, that's some death imagery, some fatalities, some violence. Also on checkpoints, he mentions revolution. So I'm going to read some lyrics here. He says, your revolution left the nigger army unimpressed. Don't wait, dig the pence, purge the leadership. Don't hesitate. Ain't no half-stepping, step to him like you know what it is. So he says, don't wait, dig the pits. So to me that says like trenches, war trenches. Dig the war trenches, get ready for war. And he also mentions revolution right before that, and he says purge the leadership. So when I say that Hiding Places, to me feels like there's a lot of war mentions. There is. He mentions rockets. He mentions grenades. He mentions politics a couple of times. He mentions Mugabe, which is the prime minister of Zimbabwe. He mentions him by name like more than one time on this project. And he even mentions, what I feel like he references Trump in Mar-a-Lago on crawl space. So yeah, there's the Grace Mugabe, which is the wife of Robert Mugabe. They're both mentioned on the song Spider Hole. In the song Spider Hole itself, it seems to encompass the entire album for me. And when I really think about it, the song Spider Hole and what a spider hole is, it helps me explain and understand this entire Hiding Places project better. Spider hole is a foxhole. It's a hole in the middle of a battlefield. So if you're going to war and someone digs a one-man foxhole, it's camouflaged, pretty much a hiding place in a battlefield. And when I listen to Spiderhole, it seems to encompass this entire project, Hiding Places by Billy Woods, for me, in a couple of lines. On Spiderhole, he says, "It's just me in the spider hole, that's the best part. From here, the war seems really far. The mirror wasn't sharp. It's just me in a spider hole, that's the best part. From here, the war seems really far." So I already mentioned that Hiding Places possesses a lot of violent imagery. It possesses a lot of war imagery. And he even mentions politics a couple of times. And he mentions many weapons throughout this project: grenades, rockets, etc. So when I look at Spiderhole, which also features some really good lyrics, he says, "I don't want to see Nas with an orchestra at Carnegie Hall." So that's referencing the Illmatic anniversary where Nas performed Illmatic with the orchestra. He's speaking to his street side, his gutter side. Like, I don't want to hear Nas rapping Illmatic with this orchestra. You know, Illmatic was more of a raw street gutter project. I don't want to hear an orchestra behind it. And again, just to add to my theory, on the song "A Week in a Year," he mentions bayonets and an army of fiends, grenades attached to rockets. But at the very end of "A Week in a Year," Billy Woods makes this real profound statement that kind of encompasses this entire project for me, along with the song Spiderhole. He says, "Life is just 2 quarters in the machine, but either you got it or you don't. I was still hitting the buttons, game over on the screen. Dollar movie theater, dingy foyer, little kid, not a penny to my name. Fucking with the joystick, pretending I was really playing. Pretending I was really playing." And he repeats that again. So he's saying, to me, the way I interpret that, he's saying, you know, life is just 2 quarters in the machine, but it's either you have it or you don't. So yeah, it just costs 2 quarters to play the game of life, but you have to have the 2 quarters. And that's the tough part, obtaining those 2 quarters. So he's saying, I'm still hitting buttons though, even though it says game over on the screen. You know, if you go to an arcade and you're trying to play a game but you have no money, the game is showing you game over from the last person that played it. And he says, I'm pretending to play it. You know, I'm fucking with the joystick, pretending I'm playing the game being life, but he doesn't have those 2 quarters. So for me, that kind of encompasses the self-reflective part of Hiding Places. So I spoke on the war aspect and the Spiderhole aspect, but now the end of "A Week in a Year" kind of explains the self-reflective portion. So if I were to take the war concept and the self-reflective concept, I'm going to say my review of Hiding Places and what I think it is and what I think Billy Woods was trying to portray. He's looking from his spider hole, from his hiding place in the battlefield. He's peeking up out of the hole. And instead of being an actual war, in what he describes as actual war, he's looking at his life. He's looking at society. He's looking at the things he sees around him, and he sees it as a war. So he sees his spider hole as a hiding place. And this whole album is him just taking a peek out and just looking around and explaining to you what's going on. And I feel like that's why the project at times feels like it's rambling. It feels, some parts feel like he's frightened. Some parts feel insecure. There's a lot of observation on this project. So that's what I think Hiding Places is. So yeah, Hiding Places is a great project. It's not for everyone, but I really enjoyed the project. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. Very strong. This is an excellent project. I like the theme. Even though I'm reviewing it, there's still going to be things that I catch after this review as I'm, listening in the coming weeks, months, years. There's still going to be a lot of concepts that I don't get until way later down the line. Like I say, Billy Woods, he's talking in riddles at some point, but overall just a good project. Kenny Segal on the production, great job Kenny Segal. He provides some abrasive production that fits really well with Billy Woods. And did I hear a distorted acoustic guitar on Red Dust in SpongeBob? Is that an acoustic guitar? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Billy Woods, Kenny Segal, top5rapwebsite.com. Peace.